Okay, Debbie, would you require a petition if precinct chairs wanted to have an executive meeting?
You know, there is a bylaw provision that provides that. Our bylaws right now say that precinct chairs can put a petition together and demand a meeting. But I would never want to get to that. I don't want to stop precinct chairs from meeting. I think the precinct chairs think there's an issue or a reason to meet. Let's call one. I hope our meetings are regular enough that people wouldn't feel like they had to do a petition, but the bylaws should provide for it, as they do now. But I wouldn't require it. No, I would love to have them. I'd like to be in such regular contact. I'd like to think of all the precinct chairs as my friend, my ally, that they call and say, hey, you've got to meet and talk about this. X, Y, Z is happening. I want to have that contact. So it wouldn't have to be a petition to have a meeting. But I certainly would honor a petition if there were one.
This will be a short answer. No, I wouldn't require a petition for a meeting. I view the county party not as my party, but as your party, precinct chairs, and your party stakeholders. If you want to meet, then I'll provide a place for you. If you want me there, I will be there. In fact, I'd like to be there even if you don't want me there. But I will be there and support you in your efforts. If you want a meeting, you'll have a meeting.
All right, next question. Well, one of our rules is it has to be, you have to be able to, both candidates have to be able to answer the question. Oh, here he goes, good one. All right, what conservative books or newsletters or literature have you read that has formed your conservative conscience?
I remember reading, I read a lot of books, some fiction, but my favorite are biographies, biographies of wonderful leaders. And there's a couple of political idols that I have. Well, there's a number of them. Of course, Ronald Reagan is an idol because he was alive during, as I was forming some of my conservative beliefs. And I remember reading a wonderful book by Peggy Noonan. You probably know it. Of course, she talks about Ronald Reagan and the personal side of the man. But I'm also a fan of old-style Republican politics, Teddy Roosevelt. I'll read just about anything about David McCullough. And if you couple David McCullough with Teddy Roosevelt, I'm there. Lincoln, of course, is one of my heroes as well. The book about how he pulled together people who didn't always agree with him because he knew that through honest debate, better decisions are made. Those are my idols. Those shaped my political philosophies. I believe that we as a party should come together, and even if we don't all agree on everything, we should all work toward the same goal. And I saw strong leaders in Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt, and Reagan. Different styles, but all strong leaders. They were committed to the party. They were committed to good government. As your county chair, those types of things will influence how I run the party.
I'm a big reader too. In case you're probably not surprised to hear that. I love reading actually very early American history and kind of what George Washington went through. And you probably all read some of those books about what they went through, when he went through and crossing the river and Christmas Eve and all that. But the reason I love it is because those people had such a glimpse of how precious our country could be in all world's history, in all other countries in the world. Compare with countries that had kings and queens and royalty. We were founded in ideas. I love reading the early founders of our country, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson. I love the things they write. I also love, there's a book by Hayek called The Road to Serfdom, which essentially talks about what happens in a country when you have the government grow and grow and everyone becomes more dependent on it, there's less and less freedom. It's a fabulous commentary on what can happen in countries if you don't demand and insist on the freedom, which I think is under threat right now when we look at what Washington, D.C. is doing under President Obama. And I think that the more we're alert to how far left our country is moving, the more activists we will be as Republicans and conservatives. I also am involved with the Heritage Foundation in Washington, D.C., and the Texas Public Policy Foundation here. And both of those groups, if you ever have a question on any policy you can possibly think of, they probably researched it, detailed it, and they can tell you the answer. I love reading their literature.